me ask you something. How is it that you're grinding every day, working 10 hours, showing up early, leaving late, and yet your bank account looks like you've been on vacation for years? You're not lazy. You're not dumb. You're just missing the secret the top 5% understand. Most people believe hard work equals wealth, but that's the biggest lie society ever sold you. You can work yourself into the ground and still stay broke if you don't know the rules of wealth. Today, I'm going to expose why 95% of people never escape financial struggle and how you can step into the 5% who build wealth that works for them. The truth is, most people have been conditioned from childhood to believe that the path to prosperity is paved with hard work alone. Work hard, go to school, get a job, and you'll be successful. That's the formula they were taught, and that's the formula they follow. But that formula was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to keep you working. You can grind all day, you can put in extra shifts, you can sacrifice weekends and holidays, but as long as your income depends on your time, your growth will always have a ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day, and no matter how skilled, strong, or dedicated you are, you can't stretch time. That's why the broke mindset keeps people trapped in cycles of exhaustion and scarcity. They read trading something finite, their time, for something they never get enough of, money. The 5% don't think this way. They understand that wealth isn't earned by the hour. It's created by the outcome. They build things that work when they don't. They create systems that multiply value. They invest in knowledge, people, and structures that generate income, whether they're on vacation, asleep, or spending time with their family. That's not luck, that's leverage. Wealthy people look at time differently. They don't ask, how much can I make per hour? They ask, how can I make something that pays me forever? That shift in thinking changes everything. It moves you from survival to strategy, from labor to leadership. When you trade time for money, you stay trapped in the illusion of productivity. You believe your worth is tied to effort. You feel guilty resting. You feel anxious slowing down, and you equate busyness with success. But wealth doesn't reward motion. It rewards multiplication. The people who create lasting prosperity understand that the value you bring to the world determines the wealth that flows back to you. You can't just work harder. You have to work smarter, higher, and deeper. You have to learn how to create something that impacts others so powerfully that they gladly exchange their money for the transformation you offer. Think about it. A person who cleans 10 houses a day might work harder than a person who owns 10 properties. But who builds wealth? The property owner. The reason is simple. The owner created a system that multiplies value while the cleaner multiplies effort. One is building equity. The other is burning energy. That's the gap between labor and leverage. It's not about intelligence. It's about understanding the laws that govern prosperity. When you learn to detach your income from your hours, you step into the flow of abundance. You start to build assets instead of just earning wages. This is why education alone doesn't make people rich. You can have degrees and still be broke if all you know is how to work harder. Real wealth is a byproduct of vision, creativity, and discipline. You have to ask yourself, how can I serve more people in less time? How can I solve a bigger problem with less energy? How can I create something that continues to give even when I'm not there? That's what the wealthy focus on. They don't just create jobs, they create opportunities. They don't chase paychecks, they design pipelines. When you start thinking like the 5%, you begin to value your time differently. You stop saying yes to every demand and you start saying yes to your destiny. You invest your time in building something scalable, something that multiplies without you constantly pushing. It might be a business, a skill, an investment, or a message that changes lives. Whatever it is, it should move you closer to freedom and further from dependence. Because true wealth isn't measured by what you earn, it's measured by what you own and what continues to grow when you stop working. Stop selling time. Time is your most precious currency. It's the only thing you can't get back. Use it to build something that outlives you. Every time you choose labor over leverage, you sacrifice your future for the comfort of the present. Every time you focus on effort instead of value, you delay your breakthrough. You have to rise above that old system that taught you to work until you're worn out. The system wasn't built for your freedom. It was built for your function. But once you understand your divine design, you realize you were never meant to trade time for survival. You were meant to create value for generations. The difference between the 95% and the 5% is not opportunity. It's understanding. One sees time as a burden. The other sees it as a seed. You can plant your hours into labor and reap fatigue, or you can plant them into vision and reap freedom. Every hour you spend learning, building, or investing multiplies itself. Every hour you waste chasing short-term money steals from your long-term abundance. The key is to elevate your thinking from earning to creating, from spending to sowing, from working to winning. If you truly want to escape the trap of working hard and staying broke, start asking better questions. Don't ask, how can I make more money? Ask, how can I make more impact? Because money follows impact. When you focus on multiplying value, when you build something that improves lives, money will find its way to you. That's the divine equation of success. Serve more, grow more, earn more. You were created for more than wages. You were designed for wealth. You confuse activity with productivity. You wake up early, rush to get ready, check your phone, respond to messages, answer emails, show up and grind all day long. You feel exhausted when the sun goes down, yet your results barely move. You tell yourself you're working hard, and you are. But the truth is, you're not building anything that lasts. You're maintaining what exists instead of multiplying what could be. There's a difference between movement and progress, between action and advancement. You can spend your whole life being busy and still stay broke, stuck, and unfulfilled because busyness doesn't equal purpose. Most people confuse effort with effectiveness. They think being tired means they've accomplished something. But tiredness is not the sign of success. Fruitfulness is. You can run in circles all day and end up exactly where you started. Many people are exhausted not because life is hard, but because their direction is wrong. You're climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall, and the higher you go, the emptier you feel. You're working, but not winning. You're active, but not advancing. You're committed, but not connected to a clear vision. The wealthy don't just move. They move with meaning. They understand that energy must have aim. The average person spends their day reacting. The wealthy spend their day creating. One lives by default. The other lives by design. The reason you feel stuck is not because you lack potential, but because you lack priority. You're chasing everything that looks urgent and ignoring what's truly important. You've mistaken constant motion for consistent progress. You've built a lifestyle around doing instead of becoming. You see, when you don't have direction, you'll confuse noise for growth. You'll fill your calendar with meaningless meetings, endless tasks, and distractions disguised as duties. But activity without alignment is like driving fast with no destination. It only burns fuel, not purpose. You can't confuse movement with mastery. You can't mistake speed for strategy. The wealthy understand that every action must be tied to intention. Every task must lead to transformation. They don't waste effort. They invest it. Busyness feels good because it gives the illusion of progress. It makes you feel productive while keeping you comfortable. But comfort is the silent killer of greatness. Comfort keeps you doing what you know instead of discovering what you're meant to do. You stay busy to avoid being still because stillness forces you to confront truth. And the truth is, most people are afraid to stop moving because stopping reveals how little they've actually moved forward. The wealthy don't run from silence. They use it. They think, they plan, they strategize, they measure their motion and master their moments. The secret to real productivity is not doing more. It's doing what matters most. You can spend your life cutting branches, but unless you strike the root, the tree will keep growing. You can do 1,000 things halfway or one thing wholeheartedly. The difference between the broke and the wealthy isn't work ethic, it's focus. The 95% spread their energy thin across everything. The 5% channel it deep into what compounds. Productivity is not about how much you do, but how much you produce that outlives your effort. You must learn to pause and ask yourself, what am I really building? Is my work multiplying value or just maintaining motion? If what you're doing today doesn't lead to freedom tomorrow, you're not being productive. You're being programmed. Society has trained people to confuse busyness with worth. You wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, thinking struggle equals success. But wisdom says, work smarter before you work harder. Without wisdom, hard work becomes hardship. With wisdom, hard work becomes harvest. You're not tired because you work too hard. You're tired because you work without direction. Energy without clarity drains you. Action without purpose breaks you. You must shift from motion to meaning. Every day should move you closer to mastery, not just maintenance. Begin every morning with clarity. What's the one thing that will move me forward today? And when you find it, give it your all. That's how the 5% live. They don't chase everything. They choose excellence in one thing until it expands into everything. Stop spinning your wheels in circles. The ground you're standing on is not your prison. It's your pattern. Break it Every step without strategy is a step wasted. Don't just work harder, work higher. Don't just get things done, get the right things done. There's no reward in activity, only in achievement. If what you're building doesn't bring growth, it's time to shift. Purpose creates power, and power creates progress. It's time to stop mistaking exhaustion for excellence. Stop celebrating busyness and start honoring fruitfulness. You don't need to do more. You need to mean more. You don't need to chase. Just choose wisely. Move with purpose. Act with alignment. When your work aligns with your why, every hour compounds, every action multiplies, and every effort bears fruit. That's when activity becomes productivity. That's when your labor becomes legacy. You don't have a wealth philosophy, only a paycheck mentality. You've been taught since childhood to chase security, not abundance. You were trained to work for money instead of making money work for you. Every system around you, from school to society, was designed to prepare you for employment, not empowerment. So you learn how to show up on time, follow the rules, and wait for payday. But no one ever teaches you that money is not the goal. It's the byproduct of value, purpose, and principles properly applied. You think if you can just earn a little more, things will finally change. But earning more won't fix a poor philosophy. If you put a millionaire's income into a paycheck mentality, you'll still end up broke, just at a higher level. Money doesn't grow in your hands, it grows in your head. The amount of money in your life will always rise or fall to match your level of understanding. The 95% say, I need money to live. They live in survival mode. Their entire financial focus is short term. How to make it to Friday, how to cover the bills, how to escape pressure for another month. But the 5% think differently. They say, I need wisdom to build. They understand that money flows to ideas, systems, and service. They study principles, not paychecks. They think in decades, not days. While others spend energy chasing income, they build assets that create freedom. The paycheck mentality asks, how much do I get paid per hour? The wealth philosophy asks, how much value can I create in this lifetime? When your thinking shifts from earning to creating, your life begins to expand. But as long as you see yourself as a worker, you'll keep trading your time for survival. You'll stay stuck in a loop where you work hard to pay bills created by the very mindset that keeps you broke. The wealthy understand that money is a tool, not a master. They don't serve money. They make money serve them. They use it to buy time, to gain leverage, to invest in things that multiply. You see, wealth is not about having more money. It's about having a philosophy that attracts more of it. It's not about luck. It's about law. The law of sowing and reaping, the law of value exchange, the law of stewardship. These are not optional. When you obey them, wealth becomes predictable. When you ignore them, poverty becomes inevitable. Most people pray for financial blessings while violating financial principles. You can't outpray poor stewardship. You can't manifest abundance with a scarcity mindset. You can't multiply when you refuse to manage what you already have. The paycheck mentality is built on fear. Fear of loss, fear of risk, fear of failure. It says, I can't invest because what if I lose it? The wealth philosophy is built on faith. It says, if I sow in wisdom, the harvest will come. The paycheck thinker waits for permission to succeed. The wealth thinker takes responsibility for the outcome. One depends on opportunity. The other creates opportunity. One looks for jobs. The other looks for problems to solve. One sees money as a reward. The other sees it as a resource. That's why two people can earn the same amount and end up in completely different worlds. One spends it all because they think money is to be consumed. The other multiplies it because they know money is to be cultivated. If your philosophy is small, your prosperity will shrink to match it. You can't pour millions into a mind designed for minimum wage and expect overflow. That's why financial success always starts in thought, not in the bank. You have to reprogram how you see money. Stop calling it evil. Start calling it energy. Stop treating it like a master. Start managing it like a servant. Stop working for it. Start working through it. Wealth responds to clarity, to purpose, to value creation. When your philosophy aligns with divine principles, you'll notice that money begins to flow differently. Opportunities appear. People connect. Doors open. Why? Because your frequency changed. You stopped chasing money and started attracting it through service, discipline, and wisdom. Change how you think about money, and money will change how it moves towards you. When you think small, you repel it. When you think big, you draw it in. The wealthy know that money follows purpose like a shadow follows light. They don't chase shadows. They chase light. They read, they study, they apply. They don't wait for a raise. They raise their value. They don't rely on chance. They rely on principle. Every wealthy person you see is living proof of a wealth philosophy applied over time. It's not about being lucky. It's about being aligned. So if you're tired of the cycle, working hard, earning little, worrying often, it's time to upgrade your philosophy. Start asking different questions. Don't ask, how can I make more money? Ask, how can I become more valuable? Don't say I can't afford it. Say, how can I create it? Don't just pray for abundance. Prepare for it. Wealth is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who can handle it. And the moment you begin to think like the 5%, the world begins to respond differently. Money starts finding you, not because you're lucky, but because you finally understand the law. Your life can only expand to the level of your philosophy. When wisdom becomes your pursuit, wealth becomes your partner. You work hard, but you refuse to master the right skills. You see, hard work by itself doesn't guarantee success. It guarantees exhaustion. You can hustle from sunrise to sunset, sweat through your shirt, and still never move the needle if you're applying your energy in the wrong direction. Hard work without the right skills is like pushing a car uphill with no engine. It might move an inch, but you'll collapse long before you reach the top. The truth is, most people have been programmed to believe that effort equals earning. That's why they work themselves to death doing what's easy instead of mastering what's essential. The wealthy don't just work harder. They work higher. They develop skills that make their effort worth more. The world doesn't pay you for how hard you work. It pays you for how hard your skills work. You can swing a hammer all day and make a living, but if you learn how to build blueprints, you'll make a fortune. The marketplace doesn't reward sweat. It rewards solutions. That's why you have to stop measuring success by hours worked and start measuring it by value created. Every high-income earner has something in common. They mastered specific high-demand skills that multiply their impact. The difference between $15 an hour and $15,000 a week is not luck. It's leverage. Leverage built on skill. You need financial intelligence. If you don't understand how money moves, you will always chase it instead of directing it. Financial ignorance keeps you in the labor class. Financial wisdom promotes you to the ownership class. You can't multiply what you don't manage, and you can't manage what you don't understand. Learn how money works. Learn about investing, cash flow, assets, and liabilities. Don't just earn money, assign it a mission. Every dollar should be a soldier sent out to bring back more. You can't build wealth by working harder at the wrong thing. You build wealth by learning how to make your money do the hard work for you. Then you need communication skills. The ability to speak, persuade, and connect will open doors that brute force can never unlock. The world listens to those who speak with clarity and conviction. The wealthy know how to cast vision with their words. They understand how to sell an idea, lead a team, inspire action, and negotiate opportunity. You could be the most skilled worker in the room, but if you can't articulate your value, you'll stay underpaid and overlooked. Learn how to speak with power. Learn how to communicate with precision. Your words are currency, and if you learn to spend them wisely, they'll produce a return far greater than your labor ever could. Sales is another skill that separates the 5% from the 95%. Everything in life is sales. Whether you're convincing a customer, leading a team, or inspiring a crowd. Sales is not manipulation, it's service. It's the skill of helping others get what they want so that you can receive what you deserve. When you learn to sell ethically and effectively, you'll never worry about money again. Because as long as problems exist, opportunities for solutions and profits will too. Leadership is the multiplier. You can't rise higher than your ability to lead yourself first, then others. Leadership is not about position, it's about influence. The reason many people stay broke is because they can only work alone. They can't multiply because they've never learned to empower others. The wealthy build systems, teams, and movements. They understand that one person with a team of 10 can achieve more than 10 people working separately. Leadership expands your capacity. It takes your hard work and multiplies its effect through others. And finally, faith-based discipline ties it all together. Skills without discipline lead to distraction. You must have the faith to believe in delayed gratification, to trust the process even when results are slow, and to stay consistent when motivation fades. Discipline is divine order in motion. It's faith expressed through obedience. You can't pray for elevation while living in inconsistency. Every successful person has mastered the art of doing what's necessary even when they don't feel like it. Faith gives you the vision. Discipline gives you the victory. Stop chasing overtime and start mastering outcomes. Every hour spent learning the right skill is an investment that compounds for life. The goal is not to work more hours, but to make every hour worth more. Stop looking for promotions. Start preparing for ownership. Stop settling for wages. Start building wealth. You've got to move from survival skills to success skills, from effort to excellence, from routine to results. You have everything you need to rise, but it begins when you decide to learn what matters most. You are not stuck because you lack time. You are stuck because you've been investing your time in the wrong tools. The same hours that keep you broke can make you rich if you apply them differently. It's not about effort, it's about elevation. Work hard, yes, but work hard at mastering what multiplies. When you develop the right skills, your work stops feeling like struggle and starts looking like strategy. You stop chasing money and start attracting it. Because when your skill matches your purpose, success stops being a question. It becomes a consequence. You're operating from fear instead of faith. And that's why your life feels stuck in neutral. You keep asking for abundance, but you keep living like a person trying not to lose what little you have. Fear will make you hold on to comfort, while faith will push you toward calling. Fear is the invisible chain that ties people to mediocrity, while faith is the key that unlocks the doors of destiny. The difference between those who live in overflow and those who live in lack isn't intelligence, luck, or background, it's belief. Fear is a prison built from past pain and future doubt. Faith is the bridge that carries you across it. Most people spend their entire lives running from failure instead of running toward purpose. They play defense with their dreams. They pray for blessings, but won't take the steps that faith demands. The broke mindset whispers, stay safe, don't risk, don't dream too big, you might lose. But safety is the biggest risk you'll ever take. The 95% stay broke, not because they lack ability, but because they lack the courage to believe God meant what he said. They settle for security because faith requires surrender. It demands that you step when you can't see, that you move when the math doesn't make sense, that you give when logic says hold back. Fear tells you to wait until it's perfect. Faith tells you to move while it's possible. Broke people protect comfort. They build routines that feel safe but lead nowhere. They choose the familiar over the fruitful. They work jobs they hate because it feels predictable. They don't invest. They don't create. They don't grow because they're afraid to lose what little they have. But wealth doesn't live in the land of comfort. It lives in the land of courage. The wealthy pursue calling. They understand that calling always costs something, but it also multiplies everything. They are willing to be uncomfortable, to step into the unknown, to face rejection and still believe that obedience will produce overflow. Faith doesn't promise easy. It promises elevation. Fear says, what if I fail? Faith says, what if I fly? That one question separates the average from the extraordinary. Fear focuses on loss. Faith focuses on potential. Fear will have you rehearsing worst case scenarios, while faith has you declaring best case outcomes. Fear imagines defeat before the battle even begins. Faith envisions victory before the first step. The people who break free from financial struggle are not those who never feel fear. They are those who refuse to let fear make decisions. They move anyway. They invest anyway. They believe anyway. Every breakthrough begins with a step of faith that looks foolish to the fearful. God didn't design you to survive. He designed you to multiply. Look around creation. Nothing God made was built to stay the same. Trees grow, rivers flow, seeds multiply. Yet people try to live in maintenance mode, doing just enough to get by. That's not divine order. That's human limitation. When you operate from fear, you shrink your capacity to receive. You tell God, I don't trust you enough to take the next step. But when you operate from faith, you activate heaven's economy. You tell God, I may not know how, but I believe you will. Faith is the currency of increase. Every miracle, every breakthrough, every promotion begins with belief. Fear will have you praying for a harvest while refusing to plant seeds. It will keep you asking for opportunities while rejecting every challenge that could grow you. It will convince you that it's wisdom to wait when it's really just hesitation disguised as logic. Faith says, move first, then the way will appear. Every successful person you admire took a step that didn't make sense. They invested when others were afraid. They acted when others hesitated. They trusted when others doubted. They failed forward, learned fast, and multiplied because their faith was greater than their fear. Faith is not blind. It sees what others can't. It doesn't ignore obstacles. It interprets them differently. Fear sees a wall. Faith sees a door disguised as difficulty. Fear says, this is too much. Faith says, this is just enough for God to show up. You can't build a life of abundance on a foundation of anxiety. You can't expect supernatural results with natural reasoning. Faith elevates you to operate on a divine frequency where possibilities multiply. If you want to rise above the 95%, you have to stop letting fear write your story. Fear builds excuses. Faith builds experiences. Fear makes you delay. Faith makes you decide. The moment you choose faith over fear, your entire reality begins to shift. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles, possibilities instead of problems. The same energy you spend doubting yourself could be used to build something powerful. The same time you waste worrying could be invested in creating. Faith doesn't eliminate fear, it overrides it. It's choosing to trust God's promise over your own perception. It's saying, I might not see the outcome, but I know who controls the outcome. When you live by faith, you stop begging for blessings and start becoming one. You stop asking, what if I fail? And start declaring, what if I fly? Because you were never meant to live a life of survival. You were created to multiply, to lead, to expand, and to walk boldly in the abundance that faith unlocks. Move by faith, not by fear, and watch everything in your life start to multiply. You haven't learned the law of multiplication. The truth is, most people are not broke because they don't make money. They're broke because they don't know what to do with the money once they make it. They treat money like a reward instead of a resource. Every time they get paid, they eat their seed. They consume what was meant to be planted. They buy clothes, they upgrade cars, they chase the next comfort instead of creating the next opportunity. The wealthy think differently. The rich understand that the seed you plant today will produce fruit tomorrow, and that fruit contains more seeds for the next harvest. Multiplication is not just about money. It's a mindset, a discipline, a divine principle that governs everything that grows. The problem is that the average person was trained to live by addition, not multiplication. You were taught to earn, spend, and save a little if anything's left over. But addition keeps you in survival mode. Multiplication moves you into abundance. The rich don't ask, how can I make more? They ask, how can I make what I have produce more? That one question separates workers from wealth builders. When you multiply, you understand that money should move, work, and reproduce. Money sitting still is like seed left in a jar. It will never grow into anything unless it's planted in the soil of opportunity. The law of multiplication applies to more than money. It applies to your time, your relationships, your skills, your faith. The reason many people stay stuck is because they don't multiply what they've been given. They wait for something big to come along before they start being faithful with the little. But the truth is, if you're not multiplying the little, you won't multiply the much. The servant in the parable who buried his talent didn't lose it because he was evil. He lost it because he refused to multiply it. What you don't use, you lose. God never rewards potential that stays buried. He rewards productivity that bears fruit. Think about this. When you plant one apple seed, you don't just get an apple, you get an apple tree. That tree produces apples year after year, and each apple carries new seeds. That's the nature of multiplication. It starts small but grows exponentially when it's nurtured. That's how wealth works. The rich are not chasing quick money, they're planting for long-term harvest. They understand patience, timing, and reinvestment. They don't eat the first apple, they plant it again. But the 95% are so hungry for instant gratification that they consume everything before it has a chance to grow. They pray for harvest they never planted, and then they call it bad luck when nothing grows. Multiplication also requires wisdom. Not every soil is fertile, and not every opportunity is worth your seed. The rich know where to sow. They study, they learn, they listen, they seek counsel. They don't chase hype, they invest in principles. Multiplication without discernment becomes multiplication of loss. If you put your energy, time, or money into unproductive ground, you'll drain your potential instead of developing it. The key is to multiply in alignment with purpose. You don't need 100 opportunities. You need one fertile field that matches your divine design. There's another level to multiplication that most people overlook: mentorship. When you teach what you know, you multiply knowledge. When you help others grow, you multiply influence. The wealthiest people in the world are not just investors in assets, they're investors in people. They understand that when they pour into others, the impact compounds far beyond their reach. You don't have to wait until you're rich to multiply. Start where you are. Share what you know. Give what you can. Every seed sown into service multiplies significance. Multiplication is also a spiritual law. When you honor God with what you have, He breathes increase into it. Faith is the fertilizer of prosperity. When you trust that your seed will grow, you activate divine multiplication. That's why the wealthy live by principle, not pressure. They don't panic when times are tough because they know seeds take time to grow. They plant they water, they wait, and they watch increase happen. The 95% quit in the waiting season because they mistake delay for denial. But multiplication takes maturity. You can't harvest in the same season you plant. You must be patient enough to let your investment bear fruit in its time. If you want to move from broke to blessed, from scarcity to surplus, you must master the law of multiplication. Stop spending everything you earn. Start assigning every dollar a mission. Every hour of your day, every skill you develop, every relationship you build, it all has the power to multiply if you nurture it. Stop living like a consumer and start operating like a creator. Create something that can outlive your effort. Build something that can grow without your constant presence. Multiplication is not magic, it's management. It's the art of making what you have become more. You don't need more income, you need more intention. The 5% aren't lucky, they're disciplined. They plant consistently. They reinvest faithfully. They believe relentlessly. If you want to be among them, stop praying for a bigger harvest and start planting better seeds. Wealth doesn't come from what you earn, it comes from what you multiply. The moment you decide to stop eating your seed and start sowing it, your life begins to grow beyond what you ever imagined. You are not broke because you're lazy. You're broke because you've been trained to think like the 95%. Break the system. Build your own. Don't just work hard. Work right. Shift from labor to leverage, from fear to faith, from paycheck to purpose. When you change the principles you live by, you'll change the prosperity you live in.